I was the lucky one. I came along, and I was anything but a normal baby.
Mm.
In a sense, I lit up the world. I was an attention getter. I was a happy baby. Oh, I was very happy. I made other people happy
Mm-hmm.
just by being a happy baby.
So tell me about your brother.
Well, okay. You know, my heart bleeds for him when I think about him now. We were both too young to know what the hell was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up. What did I grow up with? A sense of superiority.
Mm-hmm.
Tell him about this encounter with the tough guys. It made me feel scared. I was really scared
Uh-huh.
of the idea of going down to the west end of town.
Do you remember the day you first met Mama Grand?
Oh, my wife.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember that very well. One of those things you never forget. Kind of a long story. It was no surprise. In other words, we both knew we were into it for the long pull, that we were going to get married. It wasn't as if I, on a certain moment, said, "Hey, dear, will you marry me?" I'm sitting here just soaking this in. There's nothing, no place I love more than this spot right here. And these trees, the whole scene is just, in a way, it's out of this world.
Mm. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
What was the craziest thing that happened between you two, that you guys did together when you were growing up?
I remember one time, it was middle of summer, and he and I were in the backyard. We got to roughhousing, and at some point my brother got a hold of me, had me down on my back, on the grass, in the sun, and I don't know what he was not being very pleasant to me. I'm not sure how much he was hurting me, and I got more and more angry at him. I got so angry. He's got his knees on my elbows or on my upper arms, you know. The sun is shining down right on my face, and I reached the point. I was furious, and I reached the point where I was so furious that I was stronger than normal. I wound up throwing him off. He knew I had blood in my eye. I started going after him, and he decided, hey, I got to get out of here. So he ran in the house upstairs to our mom's room. And I chased him to my mom's room. She was drying her hair with an electric hair dryer, and she kind of lost track of what she was doing. All of a sudden, her hair caught fire.
Your mom's hair caught fire? Because she had the iron.
Well, she was using a
curling iron?
Well, it's a coil, electric coil, you know.
To curl her hair?
No, just to dry it.
Oh, okay.
I mean, her hair was soaking wet, you know. She did the best she could with a towel. And, of course, the night we came in, and So it distracted her.
Yeah.
She lost track of what she was doing momentarily. Her hair caught fire.
Really? And then what happened?
Well, fortunately, my son preceded me into the bedroom. Her heart had just caught fire. He had the presence of mind of grabbing a towel and throwing it over her head.
Your brother did.
Yeah. So that killed the fire. The damage was already done. Weren't they very small spot on the top of her head?
She have a bald spot?
She had a bald spot the rest of her life.
Really?
Both of us felt guilty about that. We felt guilty about our hair catching fire. And it was just fortunate that he was right there, knew what to do, and did it.
Uh-huh.
So that it only caused her some pain, some loss of some hair growing area. But that was not a happy scene.
I bet it wasn't. Granddad, did you ever do anything that other people would consider heroic?
Heroic?
Yes. Like, did you ever help anybody that was in trouble? Or...
I may have done that a number of times. So
tell me about your brother.
Well, okay. He was born a normal, perfectly normal baby boy. Nothing special about him, but nothing wrong with him either. And 2 years later, I came along, and I was anything but a normal baby.
Mm.
In a sense, I lit up the world.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for no good reason. I had personality. You could say, I don't know what else to call it. But I was a cheerful, happy kid who was interested in everything. And over time, I was so far ahead of my brother, I didn't know it. He didn't know it.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact is, he got more attention than I did. I was just natural. I was an attention getter.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ask me how or why. It just happened that way.
Mm-hmm.
I personally didn't have a damn thing to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it took time, of course. But over time, over those first few years, he must have felt, he knew I was superior.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't know why, and I was totally unaware of this at the time.
Mm-hmm.
What
Because you were good at sports and you were smart.
What?
You were good at sports and you were smart.
Yeah, he was good too, but not as good as I was.
Uh-huh.
I was a little smarter than he was. He lived his life trying to keep up with me. his younger brother.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't know that, and he didn't know it. We were both too young to know what the hell was going on.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I never knew any of this. I never gave this whole subject any thought until fairly recently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what the hell? I was a happy baby. Oh, I was very happy. I made other people happy
Mm-hmm.
just by being a happy baby. But from then on, of course, his life was at a disadvantage.
Mm.
He didn't have my, what's the word, head start, I guess you could say. Now, you got to keep in mind, I wasn't at all aware of any of this
Mm-hmm.
at the time. He wasn't aware of any of this. The one thing he was aware of was that I was ahead of him. And needless to say, he wasn't very happy about that. You know, my heart bleeds for him when I think about him now. Neither one of us was responsible for any of this.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the way we were born. But over time, it had a profound effect on him.
Uh-huh.
Much more effect on him than on me. I was the lucky one. And neither he nor I knew anything about this. This is just the way things were. And I grew up. What did I grow up with? A sense of superiority.
Mm-hmm.
And when I think about it, it wasn't his fault. It wasn't my fault.
Uh-huh.
Neither of us understood what was going on.
Uh-huh.
But that's just the way we were born.
Yeah. So how did that translate when you got older? You mentioned he told you this story that scared you, and that.
Oh, yeah. He was 2 years older. I'm not sure just what age we were, but we were on the east end of town, and the west end of town, at that time anyway, there were some tough, what shall I say, tough, they weren't really tough kids, they were just rough kids.
Uh-huh.
And I don't think they disliked anybody in particular. But anyway, my brother and a couple of his friends went to the other end of town one day. And when they came back, he told me what these tough guys had done, you know. I don't even remember what it was they had done, but anyway, they were tough.
They like roughed him up a little bit.
Pardon?
They like roughed them up a little bit.
Yeah, I guess so. But they came back with this lurid story about, wow, boy, don't go down there, boy. That's bad news. That sort of thing. To my brother. To me, I mean. Their brother. And this was one way of getting back at me, was to tell him about this encounter with the tough guys. It made me feel scared. I was really scared
Uh-huh.
of the idea of going down to the west end of town. So I'm not sure exactly when that occurred in our growing up time. My guess is he was like maybe 10 or 11 and I was 8 or 9, something like that.
Uh-huh.
What was it?
Oh, you felt like you held on to that, like you internalized it, that fear?
I'm sorry.
You didn't realize it, but you held on to that fear.
Yeah, sure. And he was bigger than I was, stronger. So in many ways, he was superior to me.
Uh-huh.
I think I was brighter than he was. And I'm sure that got to him. I'm sorry.
You didn't realize it, but you held on to that fear.
Yeah, sure. And he was bigger than I was, stronger. So in many ways, he was superior to me.
Uh-huh.
I think I was brighter than he was. And I'm sure that got to him. Yeah, sure.
Do you remember the day you first met Mama Grand?
First met Mama Grand.
Miriam.
Oh, my wife.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember that very well. It's one of those things you never forget. Kind of a long story. It was during the war. I was a conscientious objector. You may know that.
Mm-hmm.
So I never wore a uniform or anything. But the war was on. I was in what was known as Civilian Public Service, CPS, which was something set up by the federal government for conscientious objectors.
Uh-huh.
Gave us something to do. And I think I was just about I had graduated from college just anyway. So I was in this CPS. I applied for a position in an outfit that was can't think the right words, but had set up some educational facilities for conscientious objectors, and one of these was to study relief and reconstruction. The war was on, but everybody knew, well, one of these days the war's got to be over and we're going to be making do. So anyway, I applied for a particular one of these educational possibilities, and I got it. It was at Earlham College. Do you know where Earlham College is? It's in Richmond, Indiana.
Uh-huh.
It's a Quaker school.
Keep talking. I'm just making sure it's okay.
And so I had appealed for one of those positions, and I got it. So I was in Philadelphia at the time, and I had to get to Richmond, Indiana, to engage in this educational thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I took the train overnight from Philly to Richmond. I got there on the morning of July 1st or 2nd of 1943. And the first night we were there, this very good friend of mine who was with me in this, anyway, I had really just arrived. This friend of mine and I, and oh boy, I know exactly what happened, but I'm having trouble dragging it out. He and I met these two girls who were freshmen. I forget whether they were freshmen or what. But got to talking with them and made sort of a blind date, he and I, with these two girls for that evening. Which we did. I forget what we did, but on the campus of Earlham College. Well, this girl and I got along so well. Wow. It was like all of a sudden I'm really struck with this girl. Anyway, that was at the beginning of the summer. So I spent the whole summer there, going to classes and whatnot. And at the end of the summer, the government changed the rules on this thing from a continuing, all year round school to just for the summer. Well, by the time the summer was over, this girl and I were pretty close. Her name was Marion Graywells. She came from Chicago, or Evanston. That's where it all began.
Was she really sweet? Was she really nice and sweet?
Of course. Ah,
Was she pretty?
yes, she was pretty, cute. And all of a sudden, I was in love. I was just 20. I think I must have been 21. But anyway, we spent the summer, she going to her classes and me going to mine. By the end of the summer, we were pretty damn close.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's where it all began.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the summer, I had her. I was already arranged for me to come up here. Not to this house, but the old house.
Uh-huh.
And I arranged for her to come and spend, this was about a week or so, up here with me. Then I would have to go, she would have to go back to school, and I would have to go back to CPS, Civilian Public Service, which was government. We were off to the races.
Mm. And how long after that? When did you propose to marriage to her?
It didn't come until about a year later, I think. I can't. Oh boy.
Where were you when you proposed to her?
You know, that I don't remember. But it was no surprise. In other words, we both knew we were into it for the long pull, that we were going to get married. It wasn't as if something like that. It had become I think we both knew it was coming. So there wasn't anything really sensational about proposal.
Mm-hmm. You said she helped you with your neurosis? You said before that she helped you with your neurosis.
Oh yeah. Well, how should I put it? She didn't know it was a neurosis at the time,
Mm-hmm.
any more than I did. I just knew she made me feel a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
That was a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
1940, 43.
What was the craziest thing that happened while you had a family after you married Marion? What was the strangest thing? What was the craziest thing that happened while you had a family after you married Marion? What was the strangest thing that happened?
I never thought about it that way.
Check.
You know,
Are you feeling tired?
right?
Are you feeling tired?
Yeah, yes I am.
Do you want to go to bed now?
I'm just about ready.
Oh, okay. Well, here. We'll finish. Thank you for telling me stories.
I haven't told you anything yet. I know there are a lot of things I can tell you. You know, but it's going to take time. And what shall I say? I'll work on it.
Okay. Thanks, Granddad.